podcast, anyone that follows you, myself included, on social media is the awareness that, you put a lot out there. And
Are you annoyed? Just tell me, are you annoyed? Is it too much?
I'm intrigued.
Okay, good.
I was intrigued. I'm still following.
So all right, good.
That's a good sign. This isn't the social media breakup conversation. Don't worry. Well, Tracy Moore, welcome to Every Conversation Counts.
I'm so excited that you're here and we can hang out and chat.
We wanted to include you in on this project because this is what you do for a living. You're connecting with people from all walks of life.
It is. I mean, the joy of my job is that I get to talk to the experts. So the experts, it could be a chef, it could be a fitness expert, it could be a hairstylist. They're the experts. I don't have to know anything. Don't tell anybody I said that, but I don't have to know anything. And we talk about their expertise. I get to assume the role of a viewer, which is great. And yeah, the conversations can be really surface or they can be really deep. And it's a great mix. It's what I love about my job.
You always, within the job, and I'm sure outside of the job, have people around you. They want to interact. What have you learned about the power of just questions, period, of how you break the ice and make other people feel comfortable?
Well, we have a lot of people from the audience on the show, and we'll have a lot of people in our tape pieces that are not television folks. And I find the quickest way to settle someone is actually to ask them about themselves. We're all experts in who we are. Ask them about their kids, people brighten up. Ask them about their experiences, about what they do for a living, about their favorite part of the day. I find that really helps to settle people.
We're starting off 2016. You seem like the goal-setting type. Last year was a milestone birthday for you. Yeah. How do you approach this concept? And even with the experts you work with when it comes to goal setting, of seeing the follow-through happen and not just setting something that falls apart 2-3 weeks down the line?
Yeah, I've always been a goal-oriented chick. Like, I don't know if it's a star sign thing, 'cause I'm a Capricorn, and we tend to really we're goal-oriented, but part of what I don't want to do is wake up on January 1st and feel like, oh my God, I have to be skinny and have lots of money in the bank and have a better relationship with my husband, oh my gosh. So I actually start creeping in the goals around September. I feel like September is also a new start. It's a new year. The kids are back in school. People are going back to work after the holidays. And I start thinking to myself, okay, how do I want to close off this year, and how do I want to start dealing with the next year ahead? What are the big things I want to do? Is it that I want to, pump up my brand via social media? Is it that I want to have better relationships with my coworkers? Is it that I want to spend more time with my parents? What are the things I need to focus on? And then I break those things up into doable things, because I find that it can be a little bit overwhelming to try and change all of these big picture things. And I sort of work on it steadily. So when January comes around, hopefully I'm not 6,000 pounds and completely broke, because I started thinking about things, and I have a bad relationship with my husband. I started thinking about these things in September and started setting out some action plans that I could put into effect. So goals are very important to me. I think they keep me on track. Yeah.
To do it, there's a great deal of belief that has to come along. And I think there's something you said that I remember reading, that don't fear the idea of people underestimating you.
Yes.
And the Tracy that I know is one that is 100% confident. How did you get to that space where you truly believed in yourself? Because judgments will come from all aspects given what you do.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm 100% confident. I know that I'm always on that journey, and I know that I do have I feel very comfortable in who I am, and that probably translates as confidence. A lot of what Every Conversation Counts is about is that all-important conversation, and the answer to this conversation, to this question, is actually the conversation that was key to why I am the person I am. And it was a conversation with a girlfriend of mine. I had been interning at one of the news stations here in Toronto, and I had just finished my master's in journalism, and I was awful. I was a terrible intern. I was quiet as a mouse. I walked into this newsroom, I felt completely mediocre, because you're in J school and it's all theory, and then you get into the real world and it's like, oh my gosh, I'm in a newsroom right now. I felt like I couldn't cope, I felt like I wasn't important, I felt like I was getting in the way, and it was one of those internships where they didn't have a lot for me to do. I was more a bother than anything else. And in those situations, really what I should have done is rise to the occasion and volunteer to do this, that, and the other thing, or found some kind of a niche where I could really make a difference, but all I did was shrink even more. And so, you know, this month went by of my internship, and I remember I got the nerve one day to go into the local newsroom because I wanted to be a reporter. And I went up to one of the reporters that I knew and I said, hey, can I come and shadow you for a day? And she was a little iffy about it, but she said, talk to my news director, sort of to throw me off. And I talked to the news director and he said, sure, go meet her tomorrow. This is where she's gonna be and you can shadow her for the day. And I shadowed her for the day. And I was really quiet. So it was the camera guy, it was the reporter, and then it was me, like the third wheel. So they were talking off-color jokes, having some fun, doing what news people do. They went out for lunch in Chinatown. I was an intern making $0 an hour. So I brought my lunch every day. They thought that was a drag. So I'm sitting there eating my own homemade lunch at a Chinese restaurant saying not a word. Obviously, this was a really good time for them, right? At the end of the day, I said, okay, well, I'll meet you tomorrow. And she said, no. You're not meeting me tomorrow. We're not doing this again. Today was enough. That's cool. And I was like, hurt, broken. Yeah, and I just felt so embarrassed. I told my parents, this is so exciting. I'm going to be shadowing this reporter. We all knew this reporter. And I didn't even want to tell my parents that I wasn't going to be going the next day to shadow her. So I called my girlfriend, Sandy. And I'm getting to the point here. Sandy said, come on over, don't tell your parents, come to my house, we'll hang out. It's summer. I went to her house and she said, well, what's the problem? And I said, well, I'm not saying anything, I'm not talking, I'm not making an impression, I'm embarrassed, I feel mediocre, I feel less than. And she said, if you don't know stuff, why are you not asking questions? And I said, I'm not asking questions because I do not want to appear to be dumb. And she said, do not worry about looking stupid. She said, because in fact, you are stupid right now. You don't know anything, and you're not supposed to know anything. You're in a newsroom. You've never worked in one before. You've never been a reporter on a story. You wouldn't know what's happening. You have to ask a billion questions to understand what's going on. And it was a light bulb moment for me. You know, she said, don't be afraid to have people underestimate you, and don't be afraid to have people not know that you don't have all the answers, because you don't. And ever since she gave me that advice, I have used that.
So when you look at the conversations you have, whether they are on camera or off camera, what's the indicator that you walk away and say that conversation was a success?
I say now, I mean, I have this new rule because you and I are both going to events all the time, and they sort of have to count because we have other things happening in our lives. When I come away from an event, if I have made one real connection, then that event was worth my time. And by real connection, I mean, we're not talking about the weather anymore. We're not talking about where I got my shoes. We're talking about real things that are happening in our minds and our bodies and our lives. And if I can make that connection, it was a successful conversation. Otherwise, a lot of it is just a lot of fluff. Mm-hmm. I mean, we don't get to see each other that often, but when we do talk, we get to talk about real things. Yeah. And to me, that's a successful conversation. I'm actually getting to know the essence of who Riaz is. I'd rather know the essence of who you are rather than, you know, oh yeah, there's a lot of traffic out there.
Yeah.
Big deal.
And for the record, Tracy gives me all kinds of great marriage advice because I'm learning.
We talk about it all, right? And I'm learning too.
Yeah. But you know, anyone that knows you knows you're happily married, you have 2 beautiful kids.
Yeah.
And when you have a heavy schedule of being a mother, being a wife, you know, being a professional here in the studio doing what you do, it's tough to keep the momentum alive. So when you look at your family and, you know, that love and marriage that you have, what's the secret to keep that going in the most positive way possible?
Yeah, we're still figuring it out. I think that we have a good thing going on in the sense that no one is afraid to be out of the grown-ups in the house, which it's supposed to be me and my husband. My kids think I'm actually one of them, but I am a grown-up. Yeah. The grown-ups in the house are good about being vulnerable. So Leo's good about saying the good, bad, and the ugly. I'm good about saying the good, bad, and the ugly, and that was a process for me. I feel like when we first met, I was always like, no, it has to be good. No, you're happy. No, sometimes he's not happy. Sometimes I'm not happy. Sometimes it was a bad day at work, and I've got to come home, and I can't wait for him to walk through the door because I want him to analyze the situation with me. Like, let me tell you all the rules that were involved. Was I the wrong one at the meeting? What do you think? Was this person out of line? Because I think they were out of line. he's the one that's going to be able to help me put it in perspective. For him, he left work so that we could have our second child because I was hosting Cityline. In the beginning, total bliss. Stay-at-home dad, sweet baby, and this was the good baby because the first one was a crazy baby. So the second baby, quiet, sleeping, just would look at you with big eyes, bliss. Then a year goes by, a year and a half goes by, and he's starting to lose himself. And he's starting to, I mean, he's just as driven as I am career-wise. We both met as journalists. He's starting to sink into a hole. I want to get back out there. Then he can't get back out there. There's no jobs to get back out there. And for a while, I was just sort of like, it's gonna be fine, it's gonna be okay. That's not what he needed to hear. He needed me to get in the trenches with him and say, you know what, this sucks. And I hate the fact that the neighborhood moms, I don't understand their world, the mommy mafia, and I don't feel respected by other men who are at work because they don't understand my situation. And we had to get really honest about how awkward it was. There are also times when he feels like I cast a wide shadow, and he's got to deal with that. He's got to deal with the fact that at events people are elbowing him until they find out he's my husband, and then it's like, oh, Leo, come on in.
How do you manage that?
We talk about it, and those are people I don't ever forget, because you can disrespect me, it's one thing, and I'm sure you feel the same way, disrespect my husband or my kids or my mom or my dad, and it's like, that's a fight you have on your hands. So that's why I am respectful to everybody. I don't care what level you're at. I don't care if you're sweeping the floors. Be respectful. You know, so anyways, we talk about the stuff. That's the point. We talk about it. We talk about the stuff that's not pleasant to talk about, and I think it's good. I think it's good for the relationship.
Well, you know, when you talk about highs and lows of life, and especially motherhood, where does motherhood rank with all of the accomplishments in your life?
Oh, it's at the top. It's totally at the top. It's a weird job because there's unlimited joy, but it's also hard. They need a lot, but then you also love the fact that they need a lot. And I feel really, I feel like I do the best I can. I feel like sometimes I'm getting through grade 2 French math homework and I want to find an eject button and eject myself through the roof and never come back. But if I can get through it without threatening anybody's life, I feel like, okay, I won today as a mom. And I feel like those challenges are the challenges that are really shaping me more than my career, more than anything else. But I like being a mother and having a career.
I know in the beginning, there were some challenges. You went through postpartum depression, and it was your chance to speak out about mental health and the awareness. What did you go through and what did you learn from an experience like that?
I wanted a child so badly, and this is why I say to people, if you're ambivalent about wanting a kid, don't do it, because I wanted a baby so much, and I just found the whole process was completely overwhelming. So we had this baby, it was Sydney. I told you he was the bad baby. He cried a lot. So day 1, fine, came home from the hospital, had my parents over, I was fine, entertaining, yeah. Day 2, a little bit tired, but okay. He's sleeping all day and up all night, but hey, we can deal with this. Day 3, woke up, gray. I didn't want to do anything. I couldn't see the light at the end of the tunnel. I didn't want to hurt him, but I wanted to crawl out of my bedroom window in my pajamas and go sit at the bus stop. Like, I just wanted to get away. And so, you know, Leo thought, oh, it's the baby blues. We've read all about this, no big deal. Let's go for a walk. I didn't want to leave the house. He's like, come on, go, let's go. You're going to feel better. Bring the baby in the sling. Went for a walk. We took a picture in the park. I'm pretending to smile. No joy. All I'm thinking is, nighttime's going to come around again. He's going to be up every 20 minutes. I don't know if I can do this. Maybe this was a mistake. Couldn't stop crying all day. I would leave. Leo would say, well, maybe if you went and had some time by yourself, you'll feel better. I'd cry because I felt guilty leaving. I'd cry on the way back because I was coming back to the baby. I would cry in the shower when I had a chance to take one. I was miserable. And then I realized, and we both realized, it was really bad when I stopped eating, because I don't stop eating, ever. So Leo was like, you're not eating. He cut up my, I get emotional when I think about it, because he cut up all of my food into little pieces like I was a baby and tried to feed me, and I didn't want it. Yeah. I was beside myself. I didn't know why I felt guilty because I wanted the baby so badly. And then I had the baby and I couldn't appreciate having the baby. So I beat myself up for that. And then I was sad. I was hormonally crazy.
And what does it teach you about life, the entire experience, when you look at the people in your lives, the conversations you can have? What was the great lesson there?
The lesson there was don't suffer in silence because shame will put you in a bigger hole. Talk. I think the key is talking. You need to know, you need to let people help you. And in the beginning, it might just be physical help, but that translates into emotional help. So you have to talk. I was only comfortable talking to Leo about it. I wasn't comfortable talking to my mom about it. I'm so close with my parents. But I'm thinking these two immigrants came from Jamaica, had nobody in this country, raised 2 kids, no problem. I don't even think they had a car. And here I am complaining in my cushy little world because I'm feeling sad and I have 1 kid. I didn't want to talk to people about it. So talk, get it out there. And I think that's going to help mental health issues. It's going to go a long way. People have to talk about it.
It's such a salient message about not suffering in silence. And you share a message every single day here on this show. You empower women, you empower Canadians all across this country. When you look at it all and that opportunity of making every conversation count, what's your best advice?
My best advice is to connect. Get rid of all the red tape and try and connect. People need to connect with each other. I think that a lot of that is getting lost in social media. We feel like if we like something, we've actually connected with someone. It's not a connection. That is something that's happening through a computer screen. We need to connect with people. We need to understand that everybody's going through their own story at that moment in their lives. When we start feeling heated about someone that bothered us at work, trust me, that person's going through their own story. So I think we just need to try and connect, put ourselves aside and see what's happening in other people's lives. And that's the joy of conversations. I hope conversations never go anywhere. I hope my kids are still learning to write pencil to paper. I'm a little old school that way, but I think there's something to be said for talking to each other and not just through emojis.
I'll call you next time. I won't just like the photo. My bad.
Texting is good too, until we can actually have a real conversation, right?
Just like this one.
Like this one.
Tracy, thanks so much for doing this.
You're so welcome. I'm happy I could be a part of it.
So much great advice. Hey, it's Riaz. Thanks for watching. For more conversations, click on subscribe and check us out online at everyconversationcounts.com.